Marshall Peak, Chapter 5875, The First Attack on the No-Return Pass, Marshall Peak. The opening of the First Battle of the No-Return Pass was fought at long range, and although the humans gained a huge advantage, it did not fundamentally change the situation. To really retake the No-Return Pass, they still had to rely on their soldiers to engage in close-quarter combat with the Black Ink clan. The Blood Flame, Wolf Fang, Soaring Cloud, Burning Moon, Azure Dawn, and Jade Cicada armies flooded over like a raging tidal wave, pouring through the gaps in the Black Ink clan defense line. The remaining 6 armies continued their assault from the left and right flanks of the No-Return Pass, holding down the Black Ink clan masters and army as best they could. As the human army continued to tighten its encirclement, the battle between the two sides became more and more intense. There were constant sounds of death all across the battlefield from both the Black Ink clan and the humans. Across the vast conflict zone, aside for the few masters who stood at the pinnacle, the might of an individual became insignificant. However, the synergistic power of combined forces became more than simple numbers would imply. When this was applied on the battlefield, a scenario of death by 1,000 cuts became a reality. The Black Ink clan tried their best to stem the attack, but the strain they were under from the outset of the battle caused their response to be weaker than the opponents'. Their resistance only lasted less than half an hour before the 6 human race armies broke through the defense perimeter and stormed through the gaps. The human soldiers soon reached the broken Great Passes, which once belonged to the human race but had been abandoned for thousands of years. Warships sailed through and struck the enemy with secret techniques and artifacts while dodging the enemy's counterattacks with astonishing agility. This was the first battle of the human race Grand Army at the No-Return Pass, so they needed to achieve a spectacular victory. Mi Jing Lun did not expect to retake the No-Return Pass in one fell swoop. After all, that was simply unrealistic. Nevertheless, momentum and morale were key factors in winning any war. The ultimate goal of the battle was determined even before the army was mobilized: inflict maximum damage on the enemy while minimizing their own casualties. With such an objective, the human warships did not act as lone squads, but rather moved as battalions. Squad worked in units of 8 or 9, protecting each other, advancing and retreating together, so that they could maximize the advantages of the warships and attack the enemy while preserving themselves. The masters of the two sides had also taken action against each other. The 8th Order masters, territory lords, and pseudo-royal lords all opened up separate battlefields where they aimed to slaughter each other. The humans now had many more 8th Order masters than the Black Ink clan had territory lords. Thousands of years ago, the situation was completely different. At that time, the 8th Order masters struggled to resist the swarm of territory lords and fought every battle with all their might to kill the enemy, every time receiving various hard-to-recover from wounds. Oyu Yang Lai, for example, was afraid to take the supreme grade open heaven pill given to him by Yang Kai because of the accumulation of such wounds in his body. He was concerned that he might fail in his breakthrough and waste a chance for a potential 9th Order master. In the end, he succeeded and reached the 9th Order, becoming army commander of Profound Nether Army. Back when the situation of the humans was critical, the Profound Nether battlefield was nearly captured by the Black Ink clan because they lacked top masters. The main reason why they were able to hold out at the time was because the 8th Order masters were bold enough to put their lives on the line when they went to war. Additionally, they had battle formations and warships to assist them. However, all of this was not enough to counter the Black Ink clan's overwhelming numerical advantage. It was not until Yang Kai stepped in and forced the Black Ink clan to sign a truce that the situation of the 8th Order masters became better. Otherwise, many more veteran 8th Order masters would have died. Today, after thousands of years of accumulation, the heritage of the human race has become unprecedentedly strong. There were numerous rising stars who had become 8th Order masters, and now, 8th Order masters completely outnumbered the territory lords and were capable of completely suppressing them. Moreover, the strength of an acquired territory lords was generally inferior to that of an 8th Order master, not to mention their lesser numbers. However, the Black Ink clan also had a great number of pseudo-royal lords on their side. Each pseudo-royal lord had the ability to deal with a 5 elements or even 6 paths formation formed by 8th Order masters. Worse, in order to defend against Yang Kai, pseudo-royal lords would group in 3s to form their own battle formations, making them much more difficult to deal with. Except for the Ninth Order Masters who could deal with the Three Fortunes formation formed by pseudo-royal lords, the Eighth Order Masters had to assume a 5 elements or even 6 paths formation to deal with a single pseudo-royal lord. In other words, 3 pseudo-royal lords in a battle formation would keep around 20 or even more Eighth Order Masters occupied, which greatly compensated for the lack of territory lords. However, due to their fear of Yang Kai, none of the pseudo-royal lords in their respective formations dared to use all their strength. All of them reserved some of their strength and diverted part of their attention to guard against Yang Kai's sneak attack. Therefore, from how it looked, the Eighth Order Masters in battle formations had the upper hand over the pseudo-royal lords also in battle formations. This situation was quite bizarre. As soon as the human race army bypassed the Great Pass's defensive line, they immediately set about annihilating everything they could reach. Soldiers of both sides scattered on the vast battlefield and fought so violently that the void trembled under their collective impact. Blooms of evil purging divine spears appeared everywhere, resulting in the Black Ink clan suffering terrible losses. The human stockpile of evil purging divine spears was fully distributed for this battle as there was no need to worry about supplies anymore. The human race was going all out for this battle. Not long after the 6 human race armies attacking overwhelmed the Black Ink clan defense line, the 6 remaining armies on the left and right flanks also broke through the Black Ink clan's defense line, circumventing the broken Great Passes and meeting the Black Ink clan in close quarters. The whole area outside the no-return pass was now embroiled in the flames of war. Mo Yu. A roar suddenly sounded from somewhere in the void, and with that roar, a magnificent figure crashed through the Black Ink clan's blockade with unstoppable power. As Mo Yu said to Mo Na Yi before the battle, once the fighting started, the Ninth Order Masters would definitely come to him. According to the information that the humans had, he and Mo Na Yi were the only 2 royal lords, thus, suppressing them would greatly benefit the humans in battle. Mo Yu's prophecy came true when he was approached by none other than Xiong Shan. Mo Yu was prepared for such a situation, and now that Xiong Shan had called him out, he would not avoid the fight. After Xiong Shan's roar, Mo Yu rushed out from the no-return pass, his black ink strength surging as it transformed into a huge black ink cloud that covered the sky and enveloped the approaching enemy. A fierce struggle began within the black ink cloud before swiftly moving outside the no-return pass. A battle between a Ninth Order Master and a Royal Lord was so intense that if they did not move away from the main battlefield, there would be severe collateral damage to both the humans and the Black Ink clan. Mo Na Yi. Another roar came from the human race army. Seeing that Xiong Shan had successfully lured Mo Yu away, Ouyou Yang Lai was ready to take on the other Royal Lord. According to their original plan, as long as he pinned down Mo Na Yi, then the 2 Royal Lords would be too busy to coordinate the Black Ink clan, including the 2 Black Ink giant spirit gods. Thus, even if they were not able to kill the 2 Royal Lords, the entire Black Ink clan army would become leaderless. However, as soon as Ouyou Yang Lai moved, a group of pseudo-royal lords in a 3 fortunes formation blocked his way. There were more Eighth Order Masters in the profound Nether army to help, but the Black Ink clan also had territory lords and the other pseudo-royal lords who were moving towards them. With Ouyou Yang Lai at the center, human and Black Ink clan masters engaged in a ruthless melee. Ouyou Yang Lai was so angry that he shouted as he fought with the 3 pseudo-royal lords, Mo Na Yi, if you have the guts, come out and fight with me alone. However, no matter how much Ouyou Yang Lai shouted, Mo Na Yi remained unperturbed and ignored him as he remained inside the no-return pass to oversee the situation. With a huge potential threat like Yang Kai lurking in the shadows, Mo Na Yi would not care about Ouyou Yang Lai. From his standpoint, the biggest threat from the humans was Yang Kai. While the human race army attacked from 3 sides, Yang Kai was repeatedly using both Thunder Shadow's innate divine ability and his own space-time river. Needless to say, he made gains almost every time he struck. All pseudo-royal lords throughout the battlefield were his prey. Even though the pseudo-royal lords were in battle formations and were vigilant of their surroundings, they were still caught off guard when Yang Kai suddenly appeared and struck them. If they were lucky, they could block Yang Kai's attacks and save themselves. However, if they were unlucky, as many as 3 pseudo-royal lords would be caught in his space-time river, and the Black Ink clan knew exactly what would happen once they fell into the raging waters. Yang Kai weaved through the battlefield, swiftly moving from one success to the next. Each time he found an opening, he dove in to kill the cornered pseudo-royal lords. Within a short time, more than a dozen pseudo-royal lords had been killed by these successive ambushes. It could be said that Yang Kai alone had done more than all the other Ninth Order masters combined. This was a huge loss for the Black Ink clan, and Mo-Na was getting desperate, but there was nothing he could do about it. He had been trying to keep track of Yang Kai's whereabouts, but with such a huge battlefield and Yang Kai's quick and unpredictable movements, it was impossible to do so. Seeing that the situation was getting out of control, Mo-Na knew that things would reach a critical breaking point if he did not do something. He gritted his teeth and looked up at the lofty Great Pass in the void. Pure Yang Pass, which Yang Kai took away from the No-Return Pass some 20 years ago, had now become the location of the human race's supreme headquarters. It was where their supreme commander, Mi Lun, remained and directed the fights on the entire battlefield. After the 12 armies of the human race were fully engaged, Pure Yang Pass became very conspicuous as it remained outside of the battlefield. Marshall Peak. Marshall Peak, Chapter 5876, Battle of Wits. Marshall Peak. The battlefield was vast and chaotic. In such a situation, it was impossible even for the Ninth Order masters to know what was happening everywhere at all times. Once there was no central coordination and control, the humans' 12 armies were bound to fail even if they broke through all the Black Ink clan's defenses. The Ninth Order master leading each of their armies also had to fight, and did not have much spare energy to observe the general situation. This situation only exacerbated when the armies broke through the initial defenses of the Black Ink clan, as they were then thrown into a chaotic melee and no longer had a structured formation which was easy to coordinate. Once communications broke down, the situation of each army became more dangerous. If the humans needed help at a particular battlefield, forces needed to be redistributed to maximize benefits without causing detriments. If the humans could exploit the weakness of the Black Ink clan defense, then they could reap twice the results with half the effort. To achieve all this, the 12 armies needed a pair of eyes that could overlook the entire battlefield. It had to be a calm and intelligent mind who could transmit battlefield orders rapidly. The Supreme Headquarters played this role. The soldiers at the Great Pass could see the whole battlefield clearly and quickly reported the situation from all positions, while Mi Lun and his staff were responsible for analyzing the intelligence and formulating plans in the shortest possible time. In this way, the 12 armies would be able to coordinate perfectly as a single unit to pose a deadly threat to the Black Ink clan in the No-Return Pass. This time, the humans came prepared for the battle. Even the intelligent Mo-Na did not expect that the human race would use tactics such as throwing universe worlds filled with arrays to punch through the Black Ink clan's defensive perimeter, causing the Black Ink clansmen in the No-Return Pass to suffer a considerable loss. Together with Yang Kai's unpredictable ambushes and ruthless kills, the pseudo-royal lords were all at their wits' end. If Yang Kai continued to cut down the pseudo-royal lords, when their number fell below a certain limit, the Black Ink clan may not be able to stop the humans even if they went all out. Therefore, from Black Ink clan's standpoint, they had to find a way to break the humans' current momentum. Mo-Na had a direct interest in Pure Yang Pass, or more directly, in Mi Lun. Mo-Na had never underestimated the importance of Mi Lun and the Supreme Headquarters and had wanted to find a chance to slaughter them all for many years. But unfortunately, Mi Lun had not ever appeared on the frontline battlefields, so he could not do anything about him. It was a good opportunity, now that the humans were attacking the No-Return Pass. However, Pure Yang Pass was going to pose some problems. Although this great pass had not yet displayed its power, it was clearly repaired and refurbished over the past 20 or so years. Mo-Na could not estimate how much of its original power Pure Yang Pass could display at the moment, but he did not doubt that if it was brought into the battle, it would cause a huge breakthrough for the human race, and the Black Ink clan would have to pay a huge price to stop it. Even before the fighting started, Mo-Na had thought about attacking Pure Yang Pass, and since things had come to this point, it was time for him to act boldly. Many thoughts flashed through his mind as Mo-Na's divine sense surged, sending commands in all directions. The next moment, the Black Ink clan army on the battlefield suddenly turned from defense to offense, and many of them rushed towards the human warships. The warships were caught off guard by this sudden onslaught and many were blown to pieces across the battlefield. The human soldiers inside now did not have the protection of their warships and were quickly swamped by the boundless Black Ink clan soldiers. Only a few managed to escape by virtue of their strong cultivation. The scene looked like a group of sharks tearing at their bleeding prey. The nearby human soldiers quickly moved to provide assistance, but this barely stabilized the situation. At that moment, Mo Na Yi, who had been watching from the no-return pass, lunged forward. Along with him, 12 other figures rushed out from the no-return pass. Judging from the unmistakable auras, those were 12 pseudo-royal lords. There were numerous Black Ink clan's pseudo-royal lords. Not all of them were deployed to the battlefield in the previous wars. It was estimated that only 70% of them fought on the battlefield while the remaining 30% were recuperating in the no-return pass. They did this to preserve their strength and to guard the no-return pass. After all, Yang Kai could turn up at any moment to harass them, so Mo Na Yi did not dare to relax his vigilance. If Yang Kai rushed into the no-return pass and stirred up chaos, the high-rank Black Ink nests would be decimated. So even though 12 more pseudo-royal lords were coming out of the no-return pass, there were still a good number of pseudo-royal lords engaged in the main battle. Mo Na Yi attacked together with the 12 pseudo-royal lords along with a large army of 1 million Black Ink clansmen, including many feudal lords and territory lords. This conspicuous army rushed towards the disrupted human lines, and even though the human army at that location tried their best to intercept them, they were unable to contain the enemy thrust. The human defensive line was torn apart by the Black Ink clan attack in a short while. 1 million bloodthirsty and ruthless Black Ink clan soldiers flowed through the gap like a torrent. Led by Mo Na Yi and the 12 pseudo-royal lords, they charged straight towards the direction of Pyongyang Pass, their objective obvious to all. The humans on the nearby battlefield saw this, and although they wanted to intercept, they were unable to. In the next moment, Mo Na Yi, who was leading the army, suddenly stopped, while the 12 pseudo-royal lords and the million-strong army continued their rampage, as if they were not aware of this and still charged in the direction of Pyongyang Pass. Mo Na Yi turned his head and shouted in the direction of the no-return pass, Yang Kai. He thought that if he showed any intention of attacking Pyongyang Pass, Yang Kai would definitely show up and stop him. However, Mo Na Yi never thought that the cunning Yang Kai would instead head straight for the no-return pass. Before the pseudo-royal lords at the no-return pass could react, he quickly destroyed 2 high-rank Black Ink nests. The pseudo-royal lords were not to be blamed for this as they had no way to conceal their auras. Thus, they all stuck out like cranes among chickens in Yang Kai's senses. All he needed to do was to choose the places where the pseudo-royal lords' defenses were the weakest, and then he could do whatever he wanted. It was only then that several pseudo-royal lords nearby reacted and rushed to stop Yang Kai, starting a huge fight with him. This battle rocked the no-return pass and the fallout was devastating, decimating several more high-rank Black Ink nests. Mo Na Yi quickly turned around and headed for the no-return pass, with his heart aching over the losses. Like the pseudo-royal lords, the high-rank Black Ink nest could not be replaced. Without these high-rank Black Ink nests, how could the Black Ink clans create more soldiers? If the high-rank Black Ink nests were all destroyed, the Black Ink clan of the no-return pass would become a river without a source. Their defeat would be inevitable once that happened. By the time Mo Na Yi rushed back to the no-return pass and entered the battlefield, 6 high-rank Black Ink nests had already been destroyed. Upon seeing this, Mo Na Yi bellowed, "Leave one formation behind, the others guard the Black Ink nest." Upon hearing his order, the pseudo-royal lords who were ordered to stay with Mo Na Yi joined him in battling Yang Kai while the rest of the pseudo-royal lords formed 3 fortunes formations to guard their surrounding areas. Yang Kai did not continue his attacks on the no-return pass. Instead, he took a step back, dashed past the group of pseudo-royal lords as he glared at Mo Na Yi. The 3 pseudo-royal lords did not dare to chase after him, but approached Mo Na Yi and stood beside him. At this moment, Mo Na Yi looked at Yang Kai with his eyes blazing and gritted his teeth. "Bastard." Yang Kai smiled smugly and taunted, "Why do you look so bitter? You deployed your troops against Pyongyang Pass, and you expect me not to do anything? Wasn't your intention to draw me out? You should be happy that you achieved your goal." Mo Na Yi looked at him with a deep frown and his anger slowly eased as he said with a frown, "You saw through my intentions. However, He was not faking his anger. Since the beginning of the war, more than a dozen pseudo-royal lords had been killed by Yang Kai, and now half a dozen high-rank black ink nests had been smashed. Even if Mo Na Yi had a steady temperament, it was impossible for him not to be furious. However, his anger was not as intense as expected. Yang Kai raised his hand, pointed to his eyes, and asked as he glared, "Do you know what these are?" Mo Na Yi's mind raced and asked in return doubtfully, "What? Eyes?" Yang Kai replied, "I'm not blind." Mo Na Yi was flabbergasted. Although the battle was in full swing outside the no-return pass, two top masters were simply staring at each other inside the no-return pass. They just stared and talked to each other without fighting. However, the tension was very tense and treacherous. Moments later, Mo Na Yi quickly asked, "Has Mi Jing Lun broken through to the Ninth Order?" "What makes you think so?" Yang Kai asked with a puzzled expression. The Black Ink clan should not know about Mi Jing Lun becoming a Ninth Order master. Even if they found out about the two newly promoted Ninth Order masters, it should have been impossible for Mo Na Yi to know Mi Jing Lun had also broken through. Mo Na Yi replied with a shrug, "It's obvious. Originally, I had already guessed that Mi Jing Lun might have become a Ninth Order master. After the battle in the Universe Furnace, the Universe Furnace world became a hunting ground for the humans. The humans might have obtained another supreme-grade open heaven pill, and the most logical person to take it would be Mi Jing Lun, but that was all only a guess. When I saw how you reacted just now though, I became 80% certain." Martial Peak. Martial Peak, Chapter 5877, "Of course I can, Martial Peak, so that's how it is." Yang Kai appeared to be enlightened. "The attack on Pure Yang Pass was not only to lure me out, but also to verify your suspicions." After a pause, Yang Kai continued, "Your main purpose must be the latter." At this point, there was no point in denying it, as the 12 pseudo-royal lords led a million-strong Black Ink clan army towards the Pure Yang Pass, which was outside the battlefield. There was no longer a way to hide the fact that Mi Jing Lun had advanced to become a Ninth Order master. If Mi Jing Lun was still only an 8th Order master, Yang Kai would have to go to their rescue instead of boldly attacking the no-return pass. Since Yang Kai appeared in the no-return pass, it meant that he was at ease about Mi Jing Lun's safety, and in such a large-scale battlefield, only a Ninth Order master was able to guarantee their own safety. Mo Na Yi shook his head and said, "No, the main reason was still to lure you out and pin you down. Yang Kai, you must not underestimate yourself. Everyone from the royal lords down to the ordinary Black Ink clansman fears you deeply." Yang Kai grinned and replied, "Should I feel honored? Do as you please, I'm just speaking the truth." Mo Na Yi stared at Yang Kai, as did the three pseudo-royal lords standing beside him. None of them let their guard down even when Mo Na Yi was having a conversation with Yang Kai, and any abnormal movement would result in a violent exchange between them. This was also the reason why Yang Kai was willing to stand here and chat with Mo Na Yi. Otherwise, he would have already used instantaneous movement to disappear to somewhere else on the battlefield to kill more enemies. However, Mo Na Yi had locked onto him using his aura. Thus, even if he tried to use instantaneous movement, it would have been disrupted. After a moment of silence, Yang Kai suddenly said, "Since you have guessed that senior brother Mi had become a Ninth Order master, aren't you worried about the safety of those pseudo-royal lords?" As they spoke, the 12 pseudo-royal lords and the million-strong Black Ink clan army had already closed in on Pure Yang Pass. The two sides would clash violently at any moment. If Mi Jing Lun was still an 8th Order master, then the Black Ink clan would have had a great chance to capture the Great Pass and kill Mi Jing Lun. However, now that Mo Na Yi knew that Mi Jing Lun was already in the Ninth Order, it made no sense for him to continue the attack. It was foolish for them to charge towards danger with no possibility of gains. Mo Na Yi couldn't make such a choice. However, that was exactly what he did. Mo Na Yi replied nonchalantly, "Why should I worry?" Yang Kai frowned when he heard that. If he did not worry about the safety of his attacking army, then did that mean that the humans needed to worry? At that moment, he saw the Black Ink clan army from the no-return pass making a very different move. Just as they closed to the defensive perimeter of Pure Yang Pass, this army, led by 12 pseudo-royal lords, suddenly turned around and charged back towards the battlefield. In that direction, Human and Black Ink clan soldiers were in an evenly matched fight, with neither side able to send reinforcements within a short period of time. A large army would be able to change the situation of that local battlefield and allow the Black Ink clan to gain the upper hand if they rushed over at this moment. Yang Kai's expression changed instantly and said, "So this is your plan?" Mo Na Yi ordered the 12 pseudo-royal lords to lead a 1,000,000-strong Black Ink clan army to attack Pyongyang Pass, hold Yang Kai back, and verify Mi Jinglun's advancement to the Ninth Order. But his ultimate objective was to wheel around and attack the humans from behind to create an advantage for the Black Ink clan. Mo Na Yi. Yang Kai raged. Mo Na Yi just said that his main purpose was to hold Yang Kai back, which made him lower his guard. However, even that was a deception. Yang Kai was particularly annoyed with Mo Na Yi at this moment, who could somehow turn an unfavorable situation around with clever tactics and deliver a blow to his enemies they never expected. Yang Kai nearly died when he intercepted the innate territory lords who had escaped from Primordial Heaven's source Grand Restriction thanks to a similar scheme. If it was not for the Universe Furnace's sudden appearance at the critical moment, Yang Kai might not have survived. In Pyongyang Pass, Mi Jinglun looked from the top of the walls at the Black Ink clan army, which was getting farther and farther away from Pyongyang Pass. He then looked over in the direction of the no-return pass and sighed lightly. "Seems I've been exposed." Before the battle began, he had thought of using himself as bait to lure the Black Ink clan to attack. His advancement to the Ninth Order was only now known to the higher-ups of the human race, while the Black Ink clan was totally unaware. Therefore, after the battle started, the 12 armies all pressed forward, leaving Pyongyang Pass vulnerable outside the battlefield. This was to send a message to the Black Ink clan and Mo Na Yi. The supreme headquarters is on Pyongyang Pass, and Mi Jinglun is also on Pyongyang Pass. As long as the Black Ink clan could take down Pyongyang Pass, then the humans would become blind and deaf. When that happened, regardless of how strong the humans were, even if they could recapture the supreme headquarters, they would eventually be defeated. This deception was initially successful. Mo Na Yi had an army charge towards Pyongyang Pass, but just when they were about to engage each other, the pseudo-royal lords leading the way turned around and flew back to the battlefield. Their target had always been the human race army. If Black Ink clan defeated the humans at their targeted spot, then the Black Ink clan army would be able to gain a foothold and use that part of the battlefield to expand their advantage. "No need to hide anymore, let's fight," Mi Jinglun said softly. The next moment, numerous figures suddenly shot out from Pyongyang Pass and chased after the Black Ink clan army with the 12 pseudo-royal lords leading them. The two leading figures, with powerful auras, were the two newly promoted Ninth Order Masters of the human race. Right behind them were nearly 200 Eighth Order Masters. Mi Jinglun had used Pyongyang Pass and himself as bait, so naturally, he had made all the necessary arrangement. The garrison of Pyongyang Pass might have seemed obvious at a glance, but under the cover of many concealment arrays, the two newly advanced Ninth Order Masters and a large group of Eighth Order Masters were quietly lying in wait. If the 12 pseudo-royal lords and the 1,000,000-strong Black Ink clan troops dared to set foot on Pyongyang Pass, they would end up with heavy casualties. For this reason, Mi Jinglun even hid Shi Die Zhuang and Tang Dao from the public even when the battles began. However, now that they had been exposed, there was no longer any point in hiding them anymore. They were now Ninth Order Masters, thus, it was time for them to play a role in the battlefield. The two Ninth Order Masters led some 200 Eighth Order Masters towards the Black Ink clan army, and although their numbers were far less than the enemy, their strength was comparable. The two Ninth Order Masters took point and charged into the enemy army, slicing through it like a hot knife through butter. Black blood splattered with body parts flying everywhere, leaving a trail of dead and dying Black Ink clansmen. It was only when the leading 12 pseudo-royal lords managed to intervene and blunt the human race masters' assault, halting the wanton slaughter of their subordinates. "So, you had two more Ninth Order Masters," Mo Na Yi remarked calmly as he watched Yang Kai closely, able to sense the violent fallout from the clash even from where he stood. The sudden appearance of the two Ninth Order Masters' auras naturally did not escape his notice. Mo Na Yi was actually not surprised by this. Since Black Ink clan had a new royal lord, then the humans could also have new Ninth Order Masters. If he counted Mi Jinglun, The humans had 3 more ninth orders in just the last 20 years. It was unknown whether the 2 new appearances relied on their own accumulation of cultivation to break through, or did so with the help of supreme-grade open heaven pills. If it was the latter, then it did not matter as the number of supreme-grade open heaven pills were limited and would eventually run out. However, if it was the former, then the situation was untenable. The human race had produced several new Ninth Order masters while the Black Ink clan only gained 1 new royal lord. It was obvious which side had the advantage and time would only exacerbate the situation. The Black Ink clan is doomed. Yang Kai taunted. Mo Nae scoffed and replied, Brother Yang underestimates my Black Ink clan. Oh. Yang Kai frowned and continued, is it possible that a new royal lord appeared in the Black Ink clan? Which one is it? Why doesn't he introduce himself? Mo Nae maintained a straight face, if that is the case, you will find out eventually. The answer was so flat and plain it was difficult for Yang Kai to determine if there was a new royal lord in the Black Ink clan or not. He had carefully checked all parts of the no-return pass previously but did not find anything. He had an ominous feeling when he came to the no-return pass but could not be sure based on that feeling alone. There were so many masters from the Black Ink clan at the no-return pass right now, so if he was not careful, he could find himself in a critical situation regardless of the truth. So, Mo Nae lowered his eyes, and his tone suddenly lowered. That's the end of the small talk. Yang Kai raised his brow and asked, is it time to fight? No more stalling. I see that your pseudo-royal lords seem to be secretly setting up something. If it's not properly set up, we can chat a while longer. His completely nonchalant attitude made Mo Nae's flaming rage burst out as he roared, Yang Kai, you arrogant bastard. Do you really think that the no-return pass is a place where you can come and go as you wish? Yang Kai looked at him seriously for a long time and then said, this is the territory of the human race, so of course I can come and go as I please. Prove it. As soon as Mo Nae finished his sentence, the no-return pass hummed in all directions as if there was an invisible power swept through it. In the next instant, this huge stretch underwent a subtle change. This change was extremely inconspicuous, and it was difficult for ordinary people to notice, but Yang Kai only had to scan around to know what happened. He frowned slightly and remarked, you improved the heaven-sealing earth-locking array? Marshall Peak. Marshall Peak, Chapter 5878, The Battle of Courage, Marshall Peak. The Black Ink clan always wanted to use the 4 Gates 8 Palaces Great Pagoda Array to deal with Yang Kai, however, the spirit array was a bit troublesome to set up and could not be done so quickly. On several occasions, the Black Ink clan would be in the middle of setting up the array when Yang Kai suddenly dashed away or interfered. They could only hope for Yang Kai to stay somewhere long enough for them to finish setting up the array. For example, the first time the Black Ink clan used the 4 Gates 8 Palaces Great Pagoda Array was in the Divine Spirit Ancestral Land. They managed to block the entire Divine Spirit Ancestral Land with it, and a pseudo-royal lord personally led numerous innate territory lords to attack and kill Yang Kai. It would have been disastrous for Yang Kai had he not taken advantage of Ancestral Land's favorable conditions and if the pseudo-royal lord had been more measured. Without the heaven-sealing earth-locking array, there was no way to limit Yang Kai's space secret techniques, and without limiting his space secret techniques, they had no chance to kill him. While Yang Kai was chatting with Mo Nae, some pseudo-royal lords were sneaking around in the background, which Yang Kai naturally noticed. Now, the Black Ink clan had turned the entire no-return pass into a huge trap. Compared to the previous 4 Gates 8 Palaces Great Pagoda Array, the current array was undoubtedly better hidden and covered a wider area. Without Yang Kai noticing, the array had already been activated. Damn! Yang Kai cursed in contempt. Mo Nae coldly snorted, don't you humans have a saying, if you often walk next to the river, how can your shoes not get wet? You went on 3 rampages in the no-return pass already. Do you really think that I won't learn from those failures and prepare for today? That's why you always stayed in the no-return pass, so that you could trap me here when I came again. It's unbelievable that the Black Ink clan has a talent capable of this. This kind of improvement to the array could only be done by one who had a high attainment in the Tao of Spirit arrays. The Black Ink clan had numerous Black Ink disciples, but they did not have many who were skilled in the Tao of Spirit arrays and Tao of artifact refining. Thus, they were still vastly inferior compared to the humans. However, it had been so many years that if those array masters worked hard enough, they could achieve some gains. It's too late now. Mo Nae raised his hand and pointed at Yang Kai. Today, you will be buried here. Yang Kai glanced around and said grimly, aren't you afraid that the high-rank black ink nests in the no-return pass will be destroyed if we fight here? This was where the Black Ink clan's foundation was located. Although there were still a large number of masters, the presence of the high-rank Black Ink nests here was also a constraint for the Black Ink clan. That's why I only let 3 pseudo-royal lords come to assist me, Mo Nae replied indifferently. Yang Kai looked surprised for a moment before he nodded, so that's how it is. There were many pseudo-royal lords at the no-return pass, but only 3 were participating directly in the battle together with Mo Nae while the others remained at their posts. They were responsible for guarding the high-rank Black Ink nests in their respective areas. None of them could stand up to Yang Kai, but they were more than capable of blocking some shockwaves from hitting the nests. With them stationed here, the high-rank Black Ink nests would most likely not be affected. Of course, if necessary, Mo Nae said with determination, there can be more pseudo-royal lords to deal with you. Simply said, I am prepared to do whatever it takes to kill you today. From these words alone, one could see Mo Nae's determination to eradicate Yang Kai. There was nothing left to say as everything was in place on the Black Ink clan's side. As such, Yang Kai simply decided to follow the flow. He slightly raised his hand, summoned the azure dragon spear, and clenched its shaft. As his Dao strength stirred, the space-time river began to coil around the long spear. His fighting spirit began to boil and his killing intent surged. Yang Kai held the spear, pointed it forward, and proclaimed, then, let's see how many of your masters I kill before I fall. Begin. Mo Nae and the 3 pseudo-royal lords lunged forward simultaneously and attacked Yang Kai from opposite sides. Yang Kai immediately thrust the azure dragon spear forward, sending out a spear shadow filled with Dao strength so powerful that it terrified the pseudo-royal lords. The spear sliced a pseudo-royal lord's body, drew some black blood, and continued its momentum towards Mo Nae's face. Mo Nae roared and his Black Ink strength surged, turning into a protective layer covering his body. However, that barrier was directly pierced by the long spear. At the critical moment, Mo Nae raised his arm and managed to deflect the spear away from his body. The tip of the spear still scratched Mo Nae's face and Yang Kai swiftly made a sweep with it, sending the former flying with a powerful strike. Yang Kai was about to give chase when he felt a powerful force coming at him from behind. It was the 3 pseudo-royal lords who attacked together, forcing him to draw back his spear to defend himself. Mo Nae quickly regained his balance but still appeared bewildered. The last time he faced Yang Kai head-on was in the Universe Furnace world when Yang Kai had just advanced to the 9th Order and he had just become a royal lord. He was almost killed by Yang Kai back then, but Meng Qiu sacrificed himself for the greater good and helped him to escape. It had been hundreds of years since that encounter. Now, fighting Yang Kai once again, Mo Nae suddenly found that this bastard seemed to be a lot stronger than back then. Of course, Yang Kai would certainly become stronger after hundreds of years, but likewise, Mo Nae was also much stronger than back then. Both of them still had serious injuries back when they first fought, so neither was able to display their peak strength. However, Yang Kai had now become much stronger than Mo Nae had expected. He knew how humans cultivated and understood well that a 9th Order master required many years of accumulation to improve themselves, thus, he could not figure out how Yang Kai managed to grow so much in just a few hundred years. Mo Nae thought that one group of 3 pseudo-royal lords together with himself would be enough to deal with Yang Kai, but now it seemed that was not sufficient. Unfortunately, he was not prepared to let more pseudo-royal lords come forward to fight against Yang Kai, as just adding more bodies may not help the situation. The 3 pseudo-royal lords who were already in a battle formation could only withstand Yang Kai's assault for 10 breaths before they started to crumble under his relentless attacks. They had previously fought with other 9th Order masters and basically concluded that if they used a 3 fortunes formation, they would be able to contend with the enemy. Even if they were ultimately outmatched, they did not have to fear dying. However, this killing star seemed to be far more powerful than other 9th Order masters. Fortunately, Mo Nae quickly came over to assist them. Even then, it was just barely enough to contend with Yang Kai. The pseudo-royal lords who were tasked with protecting the no-return pass saw this and became concerned and gloomy. It was impossible to realize how powerful Yang Kai was until one actually fought him. 3 pseudo-royal lords in a formation could compete with a Ninth Order master, that was the standard rule, but now, even with Mo Na Yi, who was a true royal lord, their power was barely enough to hold Yang Kai back. Yang Kai was even beginning to gain the upper hand over them, which was a terrifying sight to behold. The battle was fierce and ruthless. Several figures darted around as they fought throughout the no-return pass. Every single attack on Yang Kai was well coordinated and powerful, which showed how well prepared the Black Ink clan was for this confrontation. The pseudo-royal lords who were guarding the high-rank Black Ink nests were also able to block all the fallout, leaving the Black Ink nests untouched. As the battle dragged on, the 3 pseudo-royal lords who were fighting became wounded and drained, causing their strength to drop. At that moment, 3 other pseudo-royal lords flew out from the perimeter, formed a battle formation, and joined the fight. Once that happened, the 3 exhausted and wounded pseudo-royal lords made a feint and withdrew. Yang Kai remarked in slight surprise, "So this is your plan?" 3 fresh pseudo-royal lords replaced the 3 who were exhausted. This tag-team tactic was easy for the Black Ink clan to execute and sustain as they had enough pseudo-royal lords to rotate into the fight. As long as the 3 pseudo-royal lord replacements joined the battle smoothly, Yang Kai would constantly be under pressure. "Since you're using this tactic, why don't you summon more pseudo-royal lords and fight together?" Yang Kai asked as he thrust his spear at Mo Na Yi. Mo Na Yi dodged, coldly snorted, and counterattacked. "There's no need for that. The array has been activated, and the no-return pass has been isolated. You want to take me down with minimal effort? That's a good plan." Yang Kai raised his brow as he continued his rush towards Mo Na Yi. "Although I have to admit that this tactic is effective, you might have forgotten that there is a major flaw to it." Mo Na Yi asked indifferently, "What?" Yang Kai replied, "The most crucial factor of this plan is you. After all, there is no one to replace you." "So what?" "So," Yang Kai's aura suddenly changed and became exceedingly violent, "all I have to do is kill you." Martial Peak. Martial Peak, Chapter 5879, Concealing One's Ability by Feigning Weakness. Martial Peak, the space-time river, which had wrapped around the Azure Dragon spear, suddenly turned into another spear which had the Tao strengths attached and shot out towards the 3 pseudo-royal lords to block all their attacks. Simultaneously, Yang Kai thrust out his Azure Dragon spear and charged at Mo Na Yi. Mo Na Yi's expression changed as he realized that Yang Kai had not exerted his full strength, causing him to stare at his opponent in total disbelief. How could he have grown so much in just a few hundred years? However, Mo Na Yi could not afford to think about it at this moment. Yang Kai had obviously grown significantly, but he too had not idled in the last few hundred years and had also grown stronger. Though not as much as Yang Kai, his cultivation was completely consolidated now. He was able to fight back and not just be on the receiving end of Yang Kai's killing blows. Black Ink strength rumbled as a giant black ink cloud billowed, enveloping a huge portion of the void. The black ink cloud resonated with Mo Na Yi's roar. "How long can you last like that?" He could see that Yang Kai had used some kind of secret technique to boost his strength, but such secret techniques always had limitations. Yang Kai immediately snarled, "Not for long, but it's enough to kill you. Come." The two taunted each other like petulant children within the black ink cloud, confusing the pseudo-royal lords at the no-return pass. Yang Kai was fighting alone while the human race army and the Black Ink clan army were engaged in a chaotic melee on the perimeter of the no-return pass. While the humans were woefully outnumbered, they seemed to have the upper hand. Moreover, Black Ink clan's tactical situation was different from that of the humans. The humans had pure Yang Pass outside the battlefield coordinating their movements. Precise orders were issued from pure Yang Pass to all parts of the battlefield, so the soldiers only needed to follow these directives and the entire human race army became like a tightly knit entity. They advanced and retreated together, providing assistance to each other whenever needed. On the other hand, Mo Na Yi and Mo Yu were both fully engaged in the fighting. Mo Na Yi had anticipated this situation before the war started and had informed several of his subordinates to take over commanding the Black Ink Clan Grand Army. However, they did not have enough experience, and their tactical and strategic thinking were lacking. They did not stand a chance against the battle-hardened veteran Mi Jinglun. If the Black Ink Clan did not have the geographic advantage as the defensive side, and could not immediately receive reinforcements, they would have lost the battle already. However, the humans also had their concerns. Despite the fact that they had the advantage in essentially all aspects of this battle, the Black Ink Clan still had the two Black Ink giant spirit gods which were eyeing them dangerously. These two beings were wary of Rda and Ra, who were still in the barren territory, and dared not move from the no-return pass just yet. However, they could still launch attacks remotely. Even the simplest attack from a Black Ink giant spirit god was so powerful that it could not be underestimated, and many humans had already been slaughtered by them. Thus, it was unrealistic for the humans to think that they could retake the no-return pass in a single battle. Just as the Black Ink Clan had a clear understanding of the situation between the two sides, so did the humans. The deciding factor of the war between the two races was the four giant spirit gods. Whoever could solve the other's giant spirit gods first would seize an irreversible advantage. However, how could either army even attempt to solve the giant spirit gods of the other side? The biggest gain so far for the human race was the Black Ink Clan army feigning an attack on Pyongyang Pass, exposing their backs to the humans' reserve force. Outside Pyongyang Pass, the 12 pseudo-royal lords had led a million-strong Black Ink Clan army towards the rear command post of the human race army before suddenly turning around and heading to a weak spot in the humans' offensive. Seeing this, Mi Jinglun ordered the two newly promoted 9th Order Masters to lead 208th Order Masters to pursue them. The Black Ink Clan army, which wanted to coordinate with their clansmen in the no-return pass, was suddenly set upon by these human masters. The 12 pseudo-royal lords naturally saw this situation, but instead of confronting the enemy in the open, they ordered their army to escape back to the safety of the no-return pass. Unfortunately, this resulted in half of their subordinates being slaughtered. Mi Jinglun looked at the situation on the battlefield from Pyongyang Pass and sighed. After this fight with the Black Ink Clan, he realized that the enemy had more strength than he had expected. Unlike the Black Ink Clan, who did not care about their casualties, every human soldier was a rare warrior. Taking the no-return pass was just the beginning. The humans still had to go to the primordial heavens source grand restriction. If too many were killed or critically wounded in retaking the no-return pass, how could they embark on the next part of the plan? So, when Mi Jinglun dispatched the army for this battle, he had emphasized the principle of preserving their war potential rather than maximizing the damage to the Black Ink Clan. He endeavored not to have severe losses in the army, especially among the high-ranking Open Heaven Realm Masters. At this point in the battle, the humans certainly had the absolute upper hand. However, without resolving the Black Ink giant spirit gods, there was no way to retake the no-return pass. If they continued the fight unabated, there would definitely be more casualties. In such an intensely violent battlefield, every soldier would consume a lot of strength. Additionally, the medicinal efficacies of the purifying black ink pills, which were taken in advance, were time-limited. With so many dead Black Ink clansmen on the battlefield, creating massive amounts of black ink clouds, the protective effects of the purifying black ink pills were being constantly eroded. Once the medicinal efficacies of the purifying black ink pills failed, it would be difficult to fight in an environment filled with black ink strength. Mi Jinglun could not help but turn his head and look at the depths of the no-return pass, where he vaguely saw several figures in the midst of a fierce battle. Upon seeing this, he frowned slightly and muttered, concealing one's ability by feigning weakness. Unlike Mo Na Yi, Mi Jinglun was aware of Yang Kai's actual strength, as he had discussed this with the latter recently. After 20 years of cultivating with the power of the two Open Heaven Realm Cradles, Yang Kai's strength was vastly superior to what it used to be. With Yang Kai's current strength, he should not have any problems killing Mo Na Yi, even if 3 pseudo-royal lords were assisting the latter. However, the battle seemed to be an even struggle. Clearly, Yang Kai did not use his full strength, as he was intending to conceal the extent of his abilities. Mi Jinglun naturally was not worried about Yang Kai's safety. Before the battle started, Yang Kai approached Mi Jinglun and chatted with him privately, planning for various scenarios, including the current situation he was in. Mi Jinglun naturally knew why Yang Kai decided to feign weakness, even to the extent of letting Mo Na Yi live. Revealing his true strength to Mo Na Yi was not advantageous at this moment. It was far more important for the humans to deal with the two black ink giant spirit gods. Yang Kai decided to conceal his ability and only strike at the critical moment against the black ink giant spirit god. After a few more moments of watching, Mi Jinglun withdrew his gaze and said to himself, "We've met our objective." The officers around him immediately focused and waited for the order to be given. The next moment, Mi Jinglun declared, "Pass down the order. All armies are to retreat and regroup at Pyongyang Pass." "Yes, sir." The messages were immediately sent to all the armies. At the same time, Pyongyang Pass, which had been outside the battlefield, also moved and pressed forward in the direction of the no-return pass as all its artifacts came to life. Mi Jinglun then flew up and rushed towards the battlefield. As a Ninth Order master, he should have already taken to the battlefield to kill the enemy. However, he had to remain behind to direct the army's movements. Now that the battle was coming to an end, there was not much more for him to do. The human army only needed to withdraw from the battlefield in an orderly manner according to the original plan, so Mi Jinglun could finally put down the heavy burden of command and go to the battlefield to act as a lone Ninth Order master. At the same time as Pyongyang Pass began moving, on the battlefield inside the no-return pass, Yang Kai muttered, "It's about time." Pyongyang Pass heading to the battlefield was a signal for the retreat of the human race army, and Yang Kai knew it well. Although he had been fighting alone, he was still taking advantage of the momentum of the human army. At that moment, Yang Kai's extremely fierce attacks suddenly slowed down and he held a stoic expression. Across from him, Mo Na Yi was drenched in cold sweat as he felt like he just escaped from the gates of death. He did not expect Yang Kai's explosive assault to last so long and had almost not survived the onslaught. His body was covered with wounds now, and even though they were not life-threatening, it made him look quite disheveled. There had also already been several rounds of pseudo-royal lords who rotated in and out of the battlefield. He was secretly relieved that Yang Kai stopped his attacks at this point. Otherwise, once he was killed, the pseudo-royal lords would have to face Yang Kai on their own. Once that happened, the high-rank black ink nests would suffer heavy losses, which would make the entire war situation untenable. "Mo Na Yi," Yang Kai said after he adjusted his breathing, "let me show you something." Mo Na Yi kept his cool and remained silent, while he continued his attacks with the three pseudo-royal lords in a pincer move. "Your heaven-sealing earth-locking array," as Yang Kai spoke, the space-time river once again coiled around the azure dragon spear. He then thrust his spear into the void, causing an eruption of space principles that shattered the local space. "It's useless against me now," Yang Kai declared. With the spear's thrust and the diffusion of space principles, there was a sound of something shattering, and immediately afterwards, the space around the no-return pass began to crack in a spiderweb pattern. Marshall Peak. Marshall Peak, Chapter 5880. The opposite, Marshall Peak. The Black Ink clan had tried to use the Four Gates Eight Palaces Great Pagoda array several times to deal with Yang Kai, so naturally he was prepared for this. Even before he entered the no-return pass alone, Yang Kai considered the possibility of this grand array being set up to trap him. However, Yang Kai was not worried about such trifles now. He would have been wary of a heaven-sealing earth-locking array 700 years ago as, at that time, if the local space he was in was really isolated, he would be in a lot of trouble. Unless he killed all the Black Ink clansmen inside and broke open the array, it would be impossible for him to use instantaneous movement to escape. But he was not the same as back then. In the universe furnace, he had broken through to the Ninth Order Master and his strength had dramatically increased after his retreat over the past 20 years. In addition, Yang Kai refined and devoured various Tao strengths in the infinite river in the universe furnace world. It was also there that he realized his own spacetime river was actually the condensed manifestation of all his Tao strengths. With the power of the spacetime river, Yang Kai could easily break through the heaven-sealing earth-locking array arranged by the Black Ink clan, ruining their plans. Another point was that this array was only made by some black ink disciples with mediocre attainments in the Tao of spirit arrays at best. Thus, the array they produced was not too effective. If it had been the great grandmaster of the human race that devised and set up an array to use against Yang Kai, it would have been more troublesome, but the 4 gates 8 palaces great pagoda array was still easy to break free from. From the start of the battle today, Yang Kai could have broken the array at any moment he chose to. What he said about "let's see how many of your masters can I kill before I fall" before the fighting started was simply meant to mislead Mo Na Yi. Mo Na Yi was absolutely shocked the moment the heaven-sealing earth-locking array was shattered. He did not know much about spirit arrays, so he did not expect this one, which he had such high hopes for, to not affect Yang Kai at all. As such, he and the 3 pseudo-royal lords who had teamed up with him launched a desperate attack. This seemed to be a worsening situation, and it was obviously unwise to continue after knowing that it was impossible to contain Yang Kai. However, considering that Yang Kai was also feigning weakness, there was no reason why Mo Na Yi would choose not to take advantage of him when he seemed to be suffering backlash from some kind of sacrificial secret technique. Murderous thoughts flashed through his mind, but Yang Kai suppressed his urge to kill Mo Na Yi here and now. Instead, he just summoned a bit of strength to block Mo Na Yi's blow, making it appear as if the two of them were now evenly matched. The 3 pseudo-royal lords in their formation also attacked from the side, but Yang Kai simply thrust his spear out to force them back. A single thrust was enough to block these 3. After all, Yang Kai was stronger than the other Ninth Order masters and royal lords by a large margin. Even though he was busy fending off Mo Na Yi, the power of this spear could not be underestimated by the 3 pseudo-royal lords. However, as Yang Kai swung his spear, the leader of the 3 pseudo-royal lords actually raised his hand to block the blow. The moment contact was made, the pseudo-royal lord's aura changed subtly. Yang Kai could not help but be stunned for a moment and quickly cursed in his heart. Even though he had been careful enough, he did not expect to fall for Mo Na Yi's tricks in the end. He had to admit that Mo Na Yi was a cunning and highly intelligent foe. The main reason for this admiration was that Yang Kai had realized that the pseudo-royal lord, who was leading the charge towards him, was not a pseudo-royal lord. He was a true royal lord. This caught him off guard. However, Yang Kai was ready for such surprises. When he came to the no-return pass more than 20 years ago, Yang Kai realized that new royal lords would soon be born in the Black Ink clan, and over the past 20 or so years, the humans managed to gain 2 new Ninth Order masters, so how could the Black Ink clan lag behind? It was not certain a new royal lord had risen, but there was still a good chance at least one had appeared. When Mo Na Yi answered Yang Kai's probing question previously, it was difficult for him to conclude anything. However, he still held the mindset that he would rather believe that there was at least one more. With such a mindset, Yang Kai was constantly on guard against any unknown royal lord who might be lurking and waiting for an opportunity to strike. He subconsciously felt that if a new royal lord appeared in the Black Ink clan, he would be hiding somewhere, looking for an opening to attack him. However, Mo Na Yi chose to hide the new royal lord in plain sight, among a group of pseudo-royal lord. There were not many differences in terms of the auras of a royal lord and a pseudo-royal lord. What set the two apart was that a pseudo-royal lord could not control their strength completely. As a result, a pseudo-royal lord could only exert about 70 to 80% of their full strength, despite possessing the foundation of an actual royal lord. It was like 2 identical wells of water, but the lengths of rope used to draw up water were different. Since one rope was shorter, it could not access the well's entire water supply. This was the difference between a pseudo-royal lord and a true royal lord. This meant that as long as a true royal lord simply released his own aura wildly, it was basically impossible to differentiate him from a pseudo-royal lord. Even if he was in a fight, as long as he intentionally held back part of his strength, he would not reveal any flaws. So, it was only when he started to attack that Yang Kai realized that among these 3 pseudo-royal lords, there was a true royal lord. This was what Yang Kai did not expect. He had been distracted, monitoring the movement all around him, lest a royal lord suddenly popped out of nowhere. However, he never anticipated that a true royal lord was actually lurking right next to him this whole time. This arrangement was extremely clever and was definitely Mo Na Yi's idea. According to Mo Na Yi's instructions, 3 pseudo-royal lords would join him in suppressing Yang Kai, and so far, several batches of pseudo-royal lords had rotated in and out of this battle. After establishing a kind of routine, even if Yang Kai was that astute, he would gradually become blind to such a possibility. Of course, Yang Kai was doing something similar in trying to conceal his abilities by feigning weakness. Consciously having to hold back was actually an additional burden on him, which left him somewhat distracted. There was no point in blaming himself at this point though. The 2 royal lords were close at hand, with one of them in the midst of a violent attack. In Yang Kai's current weakened state, it was impossible to dodge the incoming blow. Many thoughts flashed through his mind as Yang Kai as he weighed between continuing with the deception or revealing his true strength, counterattacking, and taking Mo Na and the new royal lord by surprise. In the end, though, he restrained his murderous intent. The next moment, the new royal lord's fist found its way through Yang Kai's guard and struck his chest. This punch was so powerful that it almost caved Yang Kai's chest in, and a mouthful of fresh golden blood spurted out, turning into a thick mist of blood. Yang Kai swung his fist back to repel his new foe before sweeping at him with his spear, forcing the new royal lord to dodge out of the way. Mo Na was surprised that the heaven-sealing earth-locking array was broken by Yang Kai, but his original plan still worked out, which made up for the embarrassment. While Yang Kai was fighting with Diya Luo, he raised his hand and black ink strength broke through the void, aiming at the back of the former's head. If this blow landed, it would be disastrous for Yang Kai. Mo Na appeared exuberant and eagerly awaited what was to come. However, at this critical moment, Yang Kai unexpectedly swung his azure dragon spear behind his head and blocked the fierce blow precisely. Mo Na immediately realized what was happening and yelled, "Don't let him get away." As he shouted, he used his aura to shake the void, and the nearby Black Ink Masters did the same. However, when Mo Na and Diya Luo pounced towards Yang Kai again, the latter's figure faded away. Without the heaven-sealing earth-locking array, there was no way to limit Yang Kai's instantaneous movement. Even Mo Na's aura could only interfere slightly with it. As a result of the interference, Yang Kai showed up not far away and failed to completely escape from the no-return pass. At this moment, he was in a terrible state with his chest sunken considerably and his body covered in blood. His aura was so diminished that it seemed like he might die at any moment. However, Mo Na knew Yang Kai very well. To a divine dragon, recovering from even such serious injuries was not an issue. The only way to ensure Yang Kai was dead was to kill him on the spot. Moreover, as soon as he saw Yang Kai's current location, which was close to the territory gate, he realized what his nemesis was planning. At this moment, Yang Kai had only 2 options to flee. One was to break through the Black Ink clan's defense line and escape towards the human race army. As long as the humans sent some masters to assist him, he could ensure his own safety. He was able to sneak into the no-return pass silently with the help of Thunder Shadow's innate divine ability, but now that so many masters from the Black Ink clan were locked onto him, he could not escape using the same tactic. As such, it was difficult for him to sneak his way out of the no-return pass. If he tried to fight his way out now though, Mo Na would surely notice something was off and reassess his strength. Thus, he had only one option left, which was to escape via the territory gate which led to the barren territory. Marshall Peak. Marshall Peak, Chapter 5881, Decision, Marshall Peak. Yang Kai's original intention was to use the human army to create chaos in and around the no-return pass, engaging as many masters from the Black Ink clan as possible so he could find a chance to slip through the territory gate into the barren territory. That was why he snuck into the no-return pass alone when the opportunity presented itself. Otherwise, he could have continued to wander the battlefield and kill with impunity. Yang Kai's mere presence terrified most of the Black Ink clan, including the pseudo-royal lords. The biggest reason for doing this was it was a strategy that he had discussed with Mi Jinglun before the army began the battle. Rda and Ra remained in the barren territory. These 2 giant spirit gods were strong, but not very smart. So, it was better to have a human direct and guide them, especially during the critical moments. Yang Kai was naturally the best candidate for this role. The 2 giant spirit gods considered him a friend and he was strong enough to move alone to the barren territory and remain there to guard it. Furthermore, just because Yang Kai was in the barren territory did not mean that he could not participate in the battle. He was so strong that as long as he was in the barren territory, the Black Ink clan would have to divert some energy to guard against him attacking the no-return pass from the territory gate. The Black Ink clan would not be as worried had it been any other Ninth Order masters remaining behind the territory gate. Yang Kai intended to escape to the barren territory all along, but he did not expect the process to be so turbulent to the point he was forced to make such a bitter choice. Mo Na Yi had also anticipated Yang Kai possibly escaping through the territory gate, but he had thought the 4 gates 8 palaces Great Pagoda array would be enough to stop the latter. Previously, Mo Na Yi had quite some confidence in the heaven-sealing earth-locking array, but to his disappointment, he now realized that this array could no longer trap Yang Kai. So, the moment Yang Kai reappeared, Mo Na Yi and Diya Luo led a large group of pseudo-royal lords over. Before they even arrived, powerful secret techniques were sent out like a storm towards Yang Kai. Yang Kai's face paled. Throughout this battle, he had been concealing his ability by feigning weakness. However, he was now really wounded and facing a deadly threat. The pseudo-royal lords who were responsible for guarding the no-return pass were all mobilized. In total, there were now nearly 30 top masters attacking Yang Kai, 2 of whom were true royal lords. With adversaries of such strength and numbers, even he could not resist them head-on. In his haste, Yang Kai could only hastily summon his space-time river and dive inside to shield himself as he fled towards the territory gate. Hong long long. Explosions rang out as waves surged, causing the space-time river to tumble and the Dao strengths to shake. Space rippled and cracked near the territory gate as Yang Kai disappeared while those chasing after him came to a halt. Mo Na Yi, the leader of the group, ground his teeth and snarled, "He's still alive after all that." Although he had not been able to catch Yang Kai off guard and even landed a heavy final blow, he was absolutely certain that Yang Kai was still alive. He also knew that Yang Kai had already escaped into the barren territory through the territory gate to join up with the 2 giant spirit gods. As he spoke, a strong sense of frustration rose in his heart. According to his plans, as long as nothing untoward happened, Yang Kai had less than a 30% chance of escaping from the no-return pass. However, the most critical 4 gates 8 palaces Great Pagoda array did not work as it should. Now, not only was his plan a failure, he had shown his trump card. Diya Luo's identity had been exposed, and the Black Ink clan had no more royal lords. Thus, it would now be all but impossible to kill Yang Kai. Thinking back on all the years he had been fighting with Yang Kai, Mo Na Yi realized he previously had 2 good chances to kill this plague but always failed at the last moment. No one could be sure if he was unlucky or if Yang Kai's fortune was just that much better to always allow him to survive. Diya Luo comforted, "Don't blame yourself. Although we couldn't kill him this time, he is definitely severely injured and won't be able to cause any troubles anytime soon. Additionally, now is not the time to think about him. We should consider the overall situation." As a royal lord, Diya Luo did not have many dealings with Yang Kai. More specifically, he had not suffered many losses at his hands, thus, he did not have Mo Na Yi's obsession with killing Yang Kai. However, right now, the Black Ink clan had more problems than just a wounded but still alive Yang Kai. Mo Na Yi forced himself to calm down, nodded, and said, "You're right." When he was fighting with Yang Kai, he did not have the time or the capacity to think of the situation on the battlefield. However, he immediately noticed something unusual as he observed the fights. The human race army was withdrawing, while Pure Yang Pass, which had kept its distance all this time, was actually advancing. It seemed to be using the power of its various arrays and artifacts to provide cover for the retreating humans. This was a planned withdrawal which was executed in an orderly and disciplined fashion. A moment later, Mo Na Yi understood why the humans chose to withdraw their forces despite having the advantage. It was true that the humans had controlled the flow of the battle this entire time and gained many advantages thus far, resulting in a lot of casualties among the Black Ink clan, including numerous pseudo-royal lords. However, the human warships also sustained a lot of damage and many of their masters had fallen. If the humans continued to fight, their casualties would only rise as more and more of their warships were destroyed. By choosing to withdraw at this point, they could preserve their own strength. Mo-Na would also make this choice if he was in such a situation. To put it bluntly, the Black Ink clan was now a caged beast and there was no need for the humans to fight them to the death. As long as there were a few more battles like this one, when Black Ink clan's strength was worn down enough, the humans could launch a decisive final attack and wipe them out. Want to leave? It's not that easy. Mo-Na coldly snorted as he saw through the human race's intention. This kind of hit-and-run tactic was despicable and clearly Mi Jinglun's plot, so he swiftly shouted, "Pass down the order, attack the humans at all costs." Have all the pseudo-royal lords in the no-return pass join the offensive. The pseudo-royal lords were shocked by Mo-Na's boldness. The no-return pass was the foundation of the Black Ink clan as all the high-rank Black Ink nests were here. The pseudo-royal lords who stayed behind were tasked exclusively with guarding these Black Ink nests. If they left, the entire no-return pass would be unguarded and extremely vulnerable. If at this moment any human race master managed to sneak through, it would definitely cause terrible damage to the Black Ink clan. However, the only one who could really achieve this was already badly injured and had escaped into the barren territory. Thus, he would not have the strength to cause trouble again. As for the others, there was no need to worry about them accomplishing what that anomaly could do. Although this order seemed to be a rash decision by Mo-Na, it was actually well considered. After giving this order, Mo-Na and Diya Luo took the lead and rushed towards the battlefield, followed by several dozen pseudo-royal lords. Somewhere on the battlefield, Mi Jinglun, who had just started killing the enemies, keenly noticed this and sighed, "That guy is really difficult to deal with." When an army was withdrawing from the battlefield, it was most fearful of such a situation. Now, the humans were bound to incur even more losses. Thankfully, the advantage that the humans had gained this time was significant. Even though the Black Ink clan had responded in the worst way possible, the humans were still able to withstand the onslaught. Just as the battle was about to end, the fight suddenly became more intense than before. The orderly withdrawal of the human race army was interrupted by the Black Ink clan army doggedly chasing after them, with masters of both sides clashing in the void. Comparing the two sides, the humans were undoubtedly better organized. The 12 armies coordinated with each other as single units while Black Ink clan was much more chaotically and haphazardly arranged. Many of the Black Ink clan soldiers that gave chase could not interfere with the humans meaningfully as they did not coordinate properly and were basically trampling over each other, trying to get ahead. However, there was still some impact on the withdrawal of the army. The sudden attacks resulted in numerous losses among the humans. Many damaged warships were destroyed and the cultivators on board were crushed. Seeing the situation deteriorating, one of the purifying Black Ink battleships actually turned around and dove into a close-quarters battle, its weapons firing madly as it plowed its way through the enemy lines. Arriving at the heart of the enemy's charge, the giant warship suddenly glowed brilliantly before exploding into a great sun made of pure white light, illuminating the entire void. The great sun enveloped a massive area and wounded or killed all the surrounding Black Ink clansmen, creating an opening for the rest of the human forces to escape. The scene was magnificent and the battle-weary soldiers cheered from all corners of the battlefield. This was how far the humans were willing to go, how far they could go when they had something to protect. The 3,000 worlds was their home, and although it was now an empty shell due to the Black Ink clan's wanton plunder, it was still their homeland and none of it would be ceded. If they wanted to protect their home, they had to uproot the Black Ink clan once and for all. The two mighty armies continued to clash with the humans fighting hard as they retreated. The Black Ink clan continued their pursuit for 5 million kilometers before finally stopping. The relentless and tenacious pursuit of the humans frustrated Mi Jinglun and he was tempted to order an immediate counteroffensive. However, considering that most of the warships were damaged and the effects of the purifying Black Ink pills was wearing out, he had no choice but to give up on this risky idea. The soldiers were very reliant on their warships for protection. For so many years, the human warships were the key to them taking on the numerically superior enemy and prevailing. Most of the losses in the later part of the battle were due to the destroyed warships, leaving the soldiers without extra protection. It was only when the pursuing Black Ink clan army retreated like an outgoing tide that this battle finally ended. Marshall Peak. Martial Peak, Chapter 5882, The Simple Giant Spirit Gods, Martial Peak. The human race army regrouped at their temporary camp 3 days away from the no-return pass. After this battle, the humans would be unable to launch another full assault on the no-return pass within a short time. The wounded soldiers needed time to heal, not to mention that the logistics were also unable to keep up with the intense consumption. A large number of damaged warships needed to be repaired, evil-purging divine spears needed to be replenished, and the purifying black ink pills had to be refined. All of this required a lot of resources, so although there were currently 3 million third-order and below cultivators mining supplies in the vast black ink battlefield, it would always take some time to accumulate enough. A conservative estimate was that for the next 2 to 3 years, they would not have the ability to attack the no-return pass again. The Black Ink clan, even though they had found out that the humans had set up camp just days away, did not dare to harbor any aggressive thoughts. When the entire human race army withdrew, the Black Ink clan could still chase after them in order to thin their numbers. However, now that they had settled down and regrouped, it was not wise to disturb them again. Thus, although the humans were not far from the no-return pass, the two sides coexisted for a long period without much conflict. 1 month after the battle, at a certain place in the barren territory, RDA and RA sat facing each other, looking down helplessly at the space in front of them. In their field of vision, a figure covered in blood was sleeping quietly. The blood had already congealed and stained the clothes. The figure slept on his side, suspended in the void as if there was an invisible bed underneath. Such a figure was small as an ant when compared with the towering giant spirit gods. This figure was none other than Yang Kai, who entered this place from the no-return pass. At the last moment, he used the power of his space-time river to block the fierce attacks of the 2 royal lords and dozens of pseudo-royal lords. The impacts were so violent that his own Dao strengths were severely impacted and his vitality plunged to the point he became delirious. He passed out soon after entering the barren territory. He would not have been able to sleep so peacefully for so long if not for RDA and RA watching over him. With their protection, Yang Kai felt safe enough to recuperate in peace. However, his condition caused the 2 giant spirit gods to worry about him. After staring at the tiny figure in front of him for a long time, RDA suddenly wailed, "Dead." RDA had said this so many times that RA was so frustrated, but he still patiently explained, "Not dead. Asleep." RDA suddenly remarked, "Oh, ate till he was full." He had always maintained a routine of napping when he was full and looking for food when he woke up. Therefore, he expected that all the living creatures should be the same as him. Since Yang Kai was asleep, he must have eaten enough and was now taking a nap. When this topic was brought up, RDA reached out, rubbed his belly, and grumbled, "I'm hungry." Ara also instinctively echoed, "En." The 2 giant spirit gods looked at each other gloomily. At that moment, the sleeping Yang Kai suddenly opened his eyes and sat up slowly. He appeared dazed, drowsy, and stiff for a while before yawning. He stretched his back and mumbled, "That was a good nap." It had been ages since he was able to sleep so comfortably. Since his strength became so much stronger, he almost did not need to sleep normally to recover his energy. Now, he took advantage of his wounds and the protection of the giant spirit gods to sleep peacefully and allow his body to heal. Waking up, he immediately felt mighty as a dragon and fierce as a tiger. His revitalized energy coursed through his veins and he could not wait to barge into the no-return pass and beat those 2 bastards to a pulp. But then, a huge face suddenly filled his entire vision and thundered, "Are you hungry?" The void shook under the thunderous but clearly concerned voice. Yang Kai was nearly blown away by the force of the wind that resulted from the giant spirit god's breath, but he quickly stabilized himself, looked up at the humongous bald head, and knew immediately that it was RDA. Yang Kai chuckled, raised his hand, and waved his hand, "You're talking about yourself, right? Okay, I know. Back up a little bit. I haven't forgotten what I promised you the last time." When he left the barren territory some 20 years ago, he instructed RDA and RA to guard the territory gate and smash anyone who dared to cross the territory gate. He promised them that if they did that, he would bring them food the next time he came. The 2 giant spirit gods had done a good job over the years, and it was because of their deterrence that the Black Ink giant spirit gods of the Black Ink clan did not dare to join in the battle a month ago. Yang Kai naturally had to fulfill his promise to them. Yang Kai raised his hand and flipped it over, and an orb appeared on his palm. He said childishly, "Look at this. Do you know what it is?" RDA and RR's eyes were immediately attracted by the orb. They could smell the delicious fragrance that emanated from the orb and knew that this was their food. However, what puzzled them was that this food was not quite the same as what they would eat previously. So, even though their stomachs were rumbling, they resisted the urge to feast. Yang Kai laughed at the look of the two giant spirit gods before throwing out the world bead from his hand without further delay. The little world bead flew into the void, and as it fell, space principles flared, allowing the tiny sphere to rapidly expand. Just a few moments later, it became a complete universe world. The volume of this universe world was just as big as the star boundary. However, its surface was full of large pits and there were a number of dark tunnels leading to its interior. These were obviously traces left behind by the mining of resources. The valuable resources had all been extracted from this universe world, and since world principles was collapsed, it was considered as a dead universe world, which suited giant spirit gods' appetite. Now that the 3,000 worlds had basically been hollowed out, it was not easy to find such a universe world. However, since Yang Kai promised RDA and RR to bring them good food, he had to keep to his word. Fortunately, in the 3,000 worlds, there was still Myriad Monsters territory, which was the great territory adjacent to High Heaven territory. Myriad Monsters territory and High Heaven territory had become the last two pure lands of the human race. Yang Kai found this universe world in Myriad Monsters territory, refined it into a world bead, and brought it to this place before restoring it to its original size using his space secret techniques. Such tasks were easily done by Yang Kai nowadays. After seeing the delicious universe world, the two giant spirit gods immediately jumped up and down in joy and ran over to it. The giant spirit gods' bodies were massive, even when compared to such a universe world. So, they each sat on opposite ends and began reaching out to grab large chunks of it and shoving them into their mouths before crunching it with their massive teeth. This was the first time Yang Kai watched the giant spirit gods eating in such close proximity, and even though he had seen many things in his life, this was still an amazing sight to behold. It had been very puzzling to him that the giant spirit gods only eat this kind of dead universe world. How could such a huge body with terrifying strength be nourished by this? The universe was indeed filled with profound mysteries that were difficult to understand. The two giant spirit gods were eating with one hand and grabbing with the other, both smiling happily at Yang Kai. When RDA realized that Yang Kai was staring at them, he handed over a universe fragment and said, "Friend, let's all eat together." Yang Kai froze for a moment, then realized what he meant by friend. RDA had always called him Little One or even Little Ant, but since he had brought them such good food, he now became their friend. Since RDA offered so generously, Yang Kai took the universe fragment into his small universe, fearing that it would upset him if he refused. RDA saw this and smiled from ear to ear. It was a pity that there were so few giant spirit gods now. If there were more than 2, perhaps 8 or 10, they could have easily retaken the no-return pass. All Yang Kai would need to do is lead a squad of them to get the job done. Casting such fanciful thoughts aside, Yang Kai turned his head and looked at the territory gate. Through the void turbulence, Yang Kai could still vaguely see the situation in the no-return pass. After the last battle, the no-return pass was obviously more closely guarded, especially the area around the territory gate. A powerful figure stood openly, clearly telling Yang Kai that if he dared to venture across, he would be immediately beaten. Yang Kai coldly snorted, took off his blood-stained clothes, summoned some water from his small universe, and washed himself. He then changed into a new set of robes. Although he had been in a deep sleep, he was extremely sensitive to the passage of time and knew clearly that it was only 1 month since the last battle. He estimated that the Black Ink clan lost at least 20 pseudo-royal lords with even more seriously wounded. It was very troublesome for such masters to heal, so it would be a long time before they could fully recover. However, the humans also needed to recuperate and accumulate supplies for the next battle. Everything took time. Therefore, although Yang Kai could not get in touch with Mi Jinglun, according to what they had planned, the next attack on the no-return pass would be at least 2 years later. 2 years was neither long nor short. It was just enough time for Yang Kai to deal with some things. He had an idea in mind, and it was time to act. Marshall Peak. Marshall Peak, Chapter 5883, Out of Control Small Stone Race, Marshall Peak. Yang Kai was slightly taken aback, looking at RDA and The universe world had been completely devoured by the two giant spiritual gods in just a short time. When they noticed Yang Kai looking at them, they immediately looked at him eagerly. Obviously, the two had not had their fill yet. Yang Kai immediately stated, "Wait here, I'll go find you something to eat now. Just like before, keep a close eye on this place. If anyone dares to come out from the other side of the door, beat them to death." The two giant spiritual gods nodded their acknowledgement. Yang Kai had used his actions to prove that he wasn't someone who goes back on his word. Compared to the promise he made last time, this time, RDA and naturally looked forward to it with great expectations. After confirming that the two giant spiritual gods understood his intentions, Yang Kai manipulated space principles and rushed towards the territory gate connected to the shattered heaven. A moment later, he arrived at the territory gate and entered. The injuries Yang Kai had sustained in the battle a month ago weren't light, but they weren't too serious either. After a month of sleep, his physical body had basically fully recovered. The instability in his Dao strengths wasn't something that could be so easily resolved, but as long as he didn't overexert his Dao strength, it wouldn't affect him much. The current human race could be said to have mobilized all of their forces to war. Disregarding the many great territories that had already become empty shells, even High Heaven territory and Myriad Monsters territory only had a few old, weak, and disabled people left behind, as well as some rising stars who had yet to fully mature. They had been born too late, so no matter how outstanding their aptitude was, they had yet to reach the open heaven realm. As such, they weren't even qualified to join the logistics team to gather resources. Under such circumstances, Yang Kai's goal for returning to the 3,000 worlds from the shattered heaven was naturally not High Heaven territory or Myriad Monsters territory. His destination was elsewhere. Traversing through many great territories at his leisure, Yang Kai finally arrived at his destination after nearly 3 months. Chaotic Dead territory. In fact, when the upper echelons of the human race decided to attack the no-return pass, Yang Kai had wanted to make a trip to Chaotic Dead territory first. In the past, he had brought Zhongruo Shi here to cultivate with Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan. So many years had already gone by, even he had no idea what the results would be. Because of her Heaven's Order bloodline, Zhongruo Shi was not affected by the Open Heaven Realm method's shackles. Even though she had initially broken through to the 5th Order Open Heaven Realm, she still had a chance of reaching the 9th Order all on her own. As proof, she had smoothly made it to the 8th Order many years ago. Of course, the amount of time that passed shouldn't have been enough for her to reach the 9th Order. Be that as it may, what Yang Kai valued was not her cultivation, but her amazing ability to control the small stone race. Zhongruo Shi was able to fully control them. Those from this race had intelligence that was even inferior to the giant spiritual gods. It was horribly low, so low that they only acted based on their instincts. Basically, no one could completely control them. However, the small stone race raised by Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan had become a special variation. These small stone race members were divided into 2 types, the Great Sun Small Stone Race and the Great Moon Small Stone Race. Because they had grown up absorbing the pure power of Yang and Yin, respectively, they could almost be regarded as living, mobile yellow and blue crystals. All the divine spirits with the Great Sun and Great Moon marks were capable of controlling these small stone race members that had been reared using this special method. At critical moments, they could even extract the yin and yang energy from their bodies and fuse them into purifying light. Yang Kai had used this method many times to kill masters from the Black Ink clan. Compared to Yang Kai and the other divine spirits who used the Great Sun and Great Moon marks to control them though, Zhongruo Shi completely relied on the suppression of her bloodline to do the same, and was actually able to exert a vastly superior level of control akin to moving her arms and legs. She had no need for the Great Sun and Great Moon marks. She was even able to have small stone race members form higher order 9 palaces formations. Yang Kai had witnessed her do this up until a Fourth Order 9 Palaces formation comprised of over 6,000 small stone race soldiers. Even for the human race, forming a 9 Palaces formation was not an easy task, especially at higher orders. Hardly anyone could even form the 8 trigrams formation, while no one had ever witnessed a 9 Palaces formation of 8th Order Masters. However, in previous battles, 8 8th Order Masters had successfully formed the 8 trigrams formation and used it to kill pseudo-royal lords. Of course, during such battles, it was inevitable that some if not all of the 8th Order Masters involved would die from the backlash of using such a battle formation, while those who managed to survive had their foundations severely damaged. Even so, given that it had such might, all 8th Order Masters wouldn't hesitate to sacrifice their lives so long as they could kill a pseudo-royal lord from the Black Ink clan. Unfortunately, successfully forming this battle formation was not always possible, even if the masters attempting it were willing to make such a sacrifice. If an 8 trigrams formation formed by 8th Order Masters could kill a pseudo-royal lord, then what about the 9 Palaces formation? It was probably strong enough to kill a royal lord. Unfortunately, no 8th Order Masters could achieve this. By comparison, Zhong Ruoshi's ability was simply shocking. It could be said that even if she was only an 8th Order Master, the role she could play on the battlefield would not be inferior to any 9th Order Master. Unfortunately, Yang Kai was unable to find any free time after returning from the edge of the universe, so he was unable to visit chaotic dead territory until now. Yang Kai was quite looking forward to Zhong Ruoshi's growth. If everything went smoothly, he was prepared to take her to the battlefield where she could finally show her marvelous ability. This way, it would be easier for the human race to retake the no-return pass and they would suffer lesser casualties. On top of that, he also wanted to ask Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan for some more yellow and blue crystals. The human race's current supplies were severely depleted, but the pure yin and yang element materials were indispensable to the war effort. After passing through the territory gate, Yang Kai stepped into chaotic dead territory after a very long time, but the next moment, he was slightly taken aback. The sight before him was different from the last time he had come to chaotic dead territory. This time, the very first thing he saw was 2 armies of innumerable small stone race members locked in a heated confrontation in the void. Looking around, Yang Kai saw that the size of these 2 small stone race armies was not small, each totaling at least 1 million members. What surprised Yang Kai wasn't their numbers though. The small stone race was found in a remote universe world in Myriad Monsters territory. Their living habits were quite similar to that of ants, with an ant queen-like existence in each colony. As long as they had enough resources, they could constantly reproduce, so in terms of numbers, each small stone race colony could easily reach an astonishing size. Yang Kai was also rearing a large number of small stone race members in his small universe, but he always prevented the reproduction of these small stone race from getting out of control, otherwise, the entire void world would become a small stone race world in no time. At that point, there would be no place for the human race to stand. Strictly speaking, the conflict between 2 million strong armies was just a small-scale battle for the small stone race. What surprised Yang Kai was the fact that these 2 sides were fighting each other at all. It was true that when Yang Kai handed over the small stone race to Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan, it was to allow them to use this method to determine who was the elder sibling. It could be said that the reason for the Great Sun small stone race and the Great Moon small stone race's existence was to fight each other. But that was only the initial situation. Since the Black Ink clan had invaded the 3,000 worlds, the 2 supreme masters of chaotic dead territory had stopped playing such silly games and instead focused on raising more small stone race soldiers to give their little brother Yang Kai to assist in the war. Yang Kai had looted yellow crystals, blue crystals, and even the small stone race armies from them several times. Although these 2 complained a lot about his open banditry, they had never let Yang Kai return empty-handed. Every time Yang Kai came to ask for their help, he would always reap a bountiful harvest. The relationship between Yang Kai and the 2 of them was similar to that of a prodigal son who indulges in debauchery and parents who painstakingly accumulates their family's wealth. Every time they built up a little savings, Yang Kai would come over and take it away before squandering it all. But they were willing to do so because they also didn't want to see the Black Ink clan rule the universe. Despite their astonishing strength and ability, they were unable to provide direct assistance in this war between the human race and Black Ink clan, where one side was destined to be completely annihilated. The small stone race was the only thing they could offer in terms of combat power. Thus, the small stone races in chaotic dead territory had stopped fighting each other a long time ago. The last 2 times Yang Kai had come here, he had not seen any scenes of conflict, so the scene in front of him was quite shocking. There weren't any powerful masters among the 2 small stone race armies, but the battlefield was extremely fierce. Yin and Yang were opposites to begin with, and once the small stone race, which naturally fought amongst themselves, was bestowed with the Yin and Yang elements, this kind of opposition became particularly prominent. On the battlefield, the 2 branches of the small stone race clashed with each other, fighting without any semblance of order. One by one, small stone race members were blown to smithereens. Although no blood was spilled and all the battles were fought on instinct, the intensity of the war was not inferior to any Yang Kai had witnessed before. Yang Kai quietly observed for a moment before restraining his impulse to intervene. Relying on the great sun and great moon marks bestowed by burning light and serene glimmer, Yang Kai could easily separate these 2 small stone race armies, but because he didn't know what Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan's intentions were, he decided to let things be for now. If these 2 supreme beings of the chaotic dead territory had some kind of special purpose for this battle, Yang Kai's interference might disrupt their plans. Bypassing these 2 warring armies, Yang Kai flew deeper into chaotic dead territory. After an hour, Yang Kai's expression became solemn. Along the way, he saw many battlefields of varying size, each of which had a large number of small stone race soldiers locked in combat. The first battlefield he encountered wasn't very large, and there weren't many powerful members, but on the largest battlefield, he actually witnessed close to 10 million small stone race soldiers fighting with each other, with many colossal members that were equivalent to the 7th Order and 8th Order Open Heaven Realm Masters. This made Yang Kai immediately realize that something had gone wrong. Marshall Peak. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,